The first bye week is come and gone for Texas Tech football, and in today's video, we'll look at the latest AP poll. Where did Texas Tech end up, and what names did they pass in terms of a national level? And we'll take a look at some Big 12 title odds. The Red Raiders may not have been playing this past weekend, but there was a significant shakeup atop the Big 12 title race and early Houston odds. Are the Red Raiders double-digit favorites down in H-Town? Let's take a look. Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's RC Maxfield here for the Red and Black Report. I hope y'all had a great bye week and enjoyed a pretty fun weekend of college football. Stress-free on my end. Just got to enjoy the games, right? And some notable ones. Oregon over Penn State. Alabama goes to Athens and upsets the Dogs. We'll discuss, how that impacted the AP poll here in just a second. But before we do, just want to say a sincere thank you to each and every one of you that tune in. I know that there's been a lot of new viewers during this football season. Men's basketball is right around the corner. So just a sincere thank you from everyone here at the RBR that y'all are tuning in and tuning in record numbers, I might add. And if you haven't joined the RBR squad, all you have to do is simply hit that subscribe button for 100% free Texas Tech content all year long. All right, let's jump into the latest AP poll. You see it on your screen right there for week number 6, your Red Raiders. Number 11, after a bye week, they move from 12 to 11. Ohio State remains at number 1. Oregon jumps from 6 to 2. Miami at 3. Ole Miss, after their win at home against LSU, jumped to number 4. Oklahoma, A&M, Penn State round out the top 7 with Indiana, Texas, and Alabama rounding out the top 10. Texas Tech jumps Georgia and LSU in this regard. And if you look at the Big 12 side of things here, you've got the highest ranked team, obviously being Texas Tech at 11. Iowa State at 14, and then to round out the top 25, 2 of the last remaining 3 teams in the top 25 are Big 12 teams in the BYU Cougars and Arizona State Sun Devils. Now, the big thing for Texas Tech here is it is a good thing that BYU and Arizona State are in the top 25. Now, hopefully they can stay there by the time that the Red Raiders play them. Now, Texas Tech has to handle business. I understand that. You understand that, right? It's each and every week when it comes to the schedule. That being said, if you want Texas Tech to be in the position to say, oh, they win the Big 12 title and you want them to get a bye in the college football playoff, you need as many shiny wins as you can possibly get. And how many shiny wins does Texas Tech have right now outside of Utah? 0, right? Now, you look at the schedule remaining for Texas Tech. When it comes to ranked victories, i.e. shiny, that's how I'm using this in this regard, you want as many opportunity as possible. And right now you have 2 remaining on your schedule. Obviously, the Tempe game against the Arizona State Sun Devils, you want them to stay in the top 25 and that be a ranked matchup here in a couple of weeks. And then you want BYU in those icy Mahomes jerseys to be a ranked matchup as well, because again, you want your resume to be great. The non-con, I don't think is going to do you any favors, but I also don't think it's going to hurt you when it comes down to it if you're Texas Tech, but you just want as many ranked opportunities as possible. So it's good to see because, again, you don't play Iowa State this season, but you play BYU, you play Arizona State. Hopefully those can be ranked matchups for Texas Tech as they embark on what could be a pretty historic season. Now, before we get into the Big 12 title odds, let's go ahead and look at the early, and I mean early, odds for the Houston matchup. You can see them on your screen right there. This has changed significantly, folks. You can see it on your screen right there at the bottom where it says Texas Tech open 8.5-point favorites. It's now at 11.5. Some sites have it at 12.5. This line has moved tremendously. Okay. When I first saw 8.5, I was like, that's too low. That's too low. To be honest with you, I thought this would be about 10.5. 12.5 seems a little steep to me. Okay. If 11.5 is there, okay, I understand it. But this line has been very fluid and been moving in the Red Raiders' favor in terms of, I think a lot of people out there thought Vegas had a little too low, and Vegas is taking notice saying, okay, maybe we had this line a little too low. Now, we'll discuss this a little bit more in depth when we do the Houston preview here in a couple of days on the channel. Just another reason to subscribe. We'll have that out before anybody else does when it comes to Texas Tech and previewing this big-time matchup for the Red Raiders. And, well, Texas Tech trying to get another solid road victory against the only other undefeated matchup in the Big 12 this week, right? This is the only matchup in the Big 12 with 2 undefeated teams. Obviously, that will not be the case because unlike the NFL, college football doesn't believe in ties, and thank God for that. But Texas Tech right now, as it stands for this recording, is 11.5-point favorites with the total over-under set at 50.5 down in H-Town. Now, I did mention there was a lot of fluidity when it came to the Big 12 title odds this past weekend, and that's the case. Texas Tech may not have played, but these odds have changed pretty drastically over the past week since Texas Tech went to Salt Lake City and shellacked the Utah Utes 34-10. Now, why did it change? Well, first and foremost, that was an impressive victory for Texas Tech. No debating that. But I don't know if y'all paid attention to what Utah did to West Virginia, albeit it's West Virginia. West Virginia kind of in a rebuild. They had their backup quarterback, right? Nico did not start in this game. They started another lefty, this time from a Texas A&M transfer. I forget his name. My apologies. But Utah went to Morgantown across the country and just absolutely belt to you-know-what when it comes to West Virginia, okay? Devin Dampier didn't look too hurt in that game, Kyle Whittingham. Just going to go ahead and say that. But, hey, maybe that was just because the Texas Tech defense looked, pretty damn good. Maybe they're just a lot better than Utah, i.e. that was actually the case, and Kyle Whittingham was trying to make up an excuse. I digress. So why am I bringing up the Big 12 title odds? Again, Texas Tech didn't play, but they changed pretty dramatically. Let's go ahead and look at them. See them on your screen right there. Texas Tech is now under the 200 mark when it comes to favorites in the Big 12, plus 190 on both Bet360, BetMGM. And then when you look at DraftKings and ESPN Bet, I should say, it's in the 180s, 180 at DraftKings and then 180 at ESPN Bet. FanDuel doesn't update theirs, by the way, for those that are wondering. That's why on that front. But that's pretty noticeable. That's a big-time gap, okay? You literally double the odds for Texas Tech in terms of the next closest team in Arizona State on multiple sites, and the Red Raiders would still be favorites or tied as favorites to win. They are not the odds-on favorite, but they are the favorites right now, and this is continuing to decrease in numbers. I know a lot of y'all have told me in the comments, y'all got Texas Tech at plus 650. Congratulations. You got maybe a steal right there. Again, not gambling advice, but Vegas does know quite a bit when it comes down to it. In terms of these odds, Texas Tech is viewed nationally as the favorite to win the Big 12, rightfully so. With what they've done in the first 4 games, this starting defense has allowed on average about, a point per quarter, okay? Because they hadn't allowed any points in non-con, and they only allowed 10 against Utah, okay? So, and they've only played about 10 quarters of football, so a point per quarter. This defense is all kinds of legit. The Red Raider offense is legit, and odds makers and national pundits are starting to take notice. But listen, if you were paying attention to me this offseason, and I'm sure other Texas Tech content creators in the space, we were hyping up this team. It's good to see that early on they're living up to it, but there's still a lot of work to be done as Texas Tech will head down to H-Town, and they are heavy favorites as of right now. 11.5-point favorites. That line opened up at 8.5. The Red Raiders have a lot of work to be done. They are officially going to be the hunted, not the hunter in this situation, but you wouldn't want it any other way for this potentially special season out in the 806. All right, that's going to do it for today's video. Quick recap, Texas Tech moves up to number 11, passing Georgia and LSU in the AP Top 25 poll. Texas Tech, 11.5-point favorites, but it opened at 8.5 against Houston. We'll have a preview of that game here on the channel in the not-too-distant future, and the Red Raiders are clearly the favorite to win the Big 12 according to every sports book that has really tall buildings out in Vegas, okay? Red Raiders are plus 180, plus 195, depending on where you look. But either way, they are the clear-cut favorites right now to win the Big 12 title. All right, I'm RC Maxfield, wrapping it up there in terms of the show. Appreciate y'all tuning in. If you haven't already, be sure to like the video and hit that subscribe button to join the largest group of Texas Tech fans here on YouTube. Almost 13,000 strong. That is the goal to get to by tip-off of Grant McCaslin's 2025-2026 season out in the 806. JT Toppin, Christian Anderson. We've got multiple others. Lawan Watts, Tyree Bryant, Donovan Atwell, Jalen Petty. I'm super excited for basketball season, but we're also focused on football here on the channel. So if you want 100% free content surrounding the Red Raiders on the gridiron, hardwood, portal, high school recruiting, and everything in between, we've got you covered right here on the Red and Black Report. All right, that's going to do it for today's video. You know how I end these things. As always, stay safe and Rip 'em Tech.